Hey y'all, welcome. So, we're going to do a little twisting practice today, and I brought my friend Bonaparte with me just to give you a visual representation that you then can layer on top of what you're feeling in your body as we do these twists. So, when we're twisting, we're talking about a spinal movement. And what you might notice is that there's a movement that happens between the rib cage and the pelvis. It can be really helpful when you're working on twisting to isolate one piece or the other. So either the pelvis stays still and stable as the rib cage moves above it, or the rib cage stays anchored as the pelvis moves. So we'll be working on some upper body twisting today, which means we'll be looking to really keep the pelvis and the legs still. Not because it's bad for them to move when we twist, but just so we can really start to isolate and feel what's going on in the rib cage and these joints just below the rib cage as we're moving through the upper body. And we're going to just see if we can get the muscles here in the side body helping to make that movement happen while we find some really nice stability and quiet in and around the pelvis. Not the only way to twist, just the way we're going to be thinking about it today. So thanks to Bonaparte for that. He's going to take a seat over here in the background. To do this practice, it might be really helpful to have a couple of blankets or a couple of pillows to give your body some support, especially when we do one of the variations that's going to be on your side. It also would be really helpful for you to have something that rolls. So you might have some kind of a small ball. You could have a foam roller. That would work as well. If you don't have something that rolls, you could still do this practice. It's just that the rolling item gives you a really good feedback and a really good way to kind of feel what's happening and to have a little bit of guidance for your body so that you can really start to connect with the movement. So we're going to do this same twisting movement, rib cage moving, pelvis still. We're going to do it in 3 different positions, 3 different orientations to gravity, and just see what that's like. So I'm going to put the ball aside. You need that in a moment. And just wherever you are, seated or lying down, standing, wherever you're at, just take a moment to check in with your body. So notice any sensations that are really grabbing your attention right now. Maybe there's some aches and pains. Maybe there's some tension. Maybe there's some areas that are feeling fatigued. Maybe you're too hot or too cold. Just notice what's going on in the physical realm. And then also notice the rest of the context you're bringing to this little practice today. So noticing your energetic state, right? Where's your energy at? Where's your mood at? What are your thoughts like? What has the rest of your day or your week been like? What are you bringing with you into this practice? Don't have to fix any of it. Some of it might be pleasant, some of it might be unpleasant, but it's just context. So it helps to start with the context, fully aware of the context. Because movement doesn't happen in isolation. Movement happens in the context of ourselves as whole people. Yeah? And then we're first going to explore this upper body twist in a side lying position. So you're going to find a place to lie down. If you can be on the floor or a firm surface, that works best. If you can't, I would rather do things than not do them myself, so don't let it stand in your way. Just be aware it might change things a little bit. You're going to want something to support your head, ideally other than your bottom arm. So something that can hold your head more or less in line with your spine when you're lying on your side. And then some of us do better if we have something between our legs as well. So that these could be blankets or pillows or whatever you've got, blocks. So you're going to come and lie down. I'm on my left side, so if you want to match, then we'll have the same left and right. If not, no big deal. Take a moment to be as comfortable as you can be on your side. So I am trying to have my hips and my shoulders vertically stacked. There's a little bit of pressure that happens on this bottom arm, it just does. Do your best to make it comfortable for yourself. If you have discomfort, your knee, hip, or low back, sometimes this, or making this even thicker between your legs, can really be what helps. So give that a try if you need to. Taking a moment just to feel your way into this space. And then we're going to take your top arm out in front of you. So if you're on your left side like me, this is your right arm on top. Bring some awareness into your hips, so just paying attention to where your hips are in space, and your rib cage, noticing your rib cage in space. And then we're going to try to keep the hips and the rib cage quiet as you bring the arm up towards the ceiling. So this piece is just a shoulder movement. Arm moves in the shoulder socket. Big connection between your shoulders and what happens when we twist. So now you've got your arm up towards the ceiling, palm facing forward, fingertips up, arm, elbow extended if you can comfortably do so. As relaxed as you can be around the shoulder. And then you're going to imagine this top arm is like the branch of a tree, and your rib cage is the trunk. So this branch is not going to go reaching way back on its own. It's just going to be there, still and stable. You're going to keep your legs and your pelvis really relaxed and quiet. So you're going to see if you can find that place first, that sense of quiet solidity through the lower body. And then you're going to twist backwards from your ribs. So we're really thinking about the rib cage here, just like you saw on the skeleton, right? Rib cage rolling back. Only so far as it feels like the legs and pelvis stay still, and the arm just goes along for the ride. So I'm not reaching back with the arm. And then when I come up, I really want to use the ribs to come up rather than pulling myself up with the arm, right? So the twisting movement is ribs back, ribs up. Legs and pelvis relatively quiet. Arm relatively quiet. If you want to combine this with the arm movement, you can bring the arm down in between. So when the arm's moving, it's just the arm. When the rib cage is moving, it's just the ribs. If that feels too complicated, just work with the rib cage first. For those of us who are getting some discomfort in this top arm, you can bend it. You can put the hand down on the ribs. Sometimes that helps with the rib movement. You can put the hand up on the head. Or you can just rest the arm. But see if you can keep the arm less involved as you find that movement in the rib cage, right? And just seeing how that feels. So sunrise, sunset. If you're using the arm, get that nice sense of movement, like the sun through the sky, at the beginning and then the end of the day. So when you're ready, you'll come back to your side, just coming back to your starting position. And then we are going to switch sides. So for most people, you can just roll over and come to the other side. I'm going to turn so I can stay facing the camera because I feel like that's polite for some reason. And then you're going to set up on the other side. Other side feels different because it is a different side. So sometimes we get this idea that we should have the two sides be the same, and they're just not. We're looking for support between the legs. And then you're going to find the same movement. So the first piece of this is trying to stack the arms, the shoulders, and the hips. Hope I'm not hitting the microphone there for you. And then we're going to let the arm come up, just the arm. Once the arm is up, fingertips to the ceiling, palm forward. You can think of that arm as the branch of a tree. And think of the rib cage as the trunk. You're going to twist back from the trunk. Back up. Finding that movement isolated here in the rib cage if you can. Legs and pelvis are quiet. Noticing this side is a little harder for me today. So it's okay to have a side that's easier and a side that's harder. Pretty normal, actually. I'm noticing a couple of different things. My bottom shoulder actually is involved on this side. And there's some tightness between the ribs and the pelvis. And it's no big deal, right? So we're just feeling into the movement on this side. If you want to combine it with the arm movement, so the arm comes down, arm comes up, rib cage moves. You're really feeling into all those pieces, separating the movement of the arm from the movement of the rib cage. Or if it's easier, you're just playing with finding the rib cage movement. And feel free to modify the position of this top hand if that's helpful for you to do. Exploring your sunrise, sunset, and then when you're ready, that arm can come down. We'll just come over onto the back for a moment if that's comfortable for you, or you can feel free to sit up if that's better. And we're just going to take a moment to let your body settle out in a position that's a little more symmetrical to the floor. Nice, easy breaths in and out. From here, we're going to make our way up into a seated position. So for seated twisting, you could be either on a chair or on the floor. Any seated position that works for you. So feel free to make the legs work for your body. You can be in a chair. You can stretch the legs all the way out. In front of you, you can have the legs wide. You can kneel. So remember, we're twisting the rib cage and having some stability and stillness and quiet through the pelvis. And so wherever you are, we want the base of the pose, your legs and hips, to feel really stable for you. So you're going to settle in. Maybe even relax a little bit here. Let your weight come down into the surfaces that support you. Taking a few breaths. Relearning your orientation to gravity, right? And then I really like to have the hands connected to the midline of the torso, the breastbone, or around the heart. And that helps me really take the shoulders out of it. So I'm feeling the movement of the rib cage separately. And it helps with awareness through the center of the body, right? So you can stack the palms like this. You can bring prayer hands together. If you're someone who overuses your neck, sometimes it's really helpful to bring those prayer hands all the way up under the chin so that you have a little bit of feedback for what your head is doing as well when you're here. So we're going to take a couple of breaths, and you're inhaling right where you are. And as you exhale, you're going to twist to the right. And see if you can really feel the rib cage. So thinking again about the trunk of a tree or a barrel or a lampshade just turning above the base. And we really want the legs and the pelvis to be super quiet. So notice if you're pushing with a leg to make this happen. See if you can find the movement at the rib cage. It might be smaller. Totally fine. And then you're going to come back to center and over to the other side. We can expect some asymmetry here, by the way. There's nothing wrong with you if there's asymmetry. There is asymmetry at the level of the organs. It was not uncommon to find we can twist a little more in one direction than the other, and that's fine. Coming back and over to the other side. So legs are quiet, and for now I'm keeping the head and neck out of it too. Really finding that rib cage movement. And then if you want to, add the head, turning to look over your shoulder. You just can see what changes here. Coming back through center. Over to the other side, rib cage first, then head. Just seeing what that feels like. Notice if your legs and pelvis are playing the game here. Come back to center. So that's the same movement. Arms are a little different. Orientation to gravity is different, which makes it feel really different, right? The last one we're going to do here is on all fours. If you can be on all fours, we're going to do that. You can always substitute one of the other twists again if you would like to. This doesn't work for you for any reason. I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to put it out here next to my right hand. If you have a foam roller, you're going to place it lengthways along your mat so that it rolls out to the side. I'm going to come onto all fours first. I'm feeling my connection to the floor through hands and knees. And I'm going to think a little bit about what's happening in my shoulders. So sometimes we get a little sunk down here in the shoulders. I'm going to push the earth away with my hands, let my shoulder blades draw wide on my back, and I'm going to hold a little strength there in my upper back. And I'm going to see if I can soften any extra tension from my abdominal muscles here as well. So I'm going to really be solid through the right arm as I lift the left hand up. If that works, I'm going to take my left hand onto that ball. And then I'm going to think about this twist happening here. So remember, ribcage moves. We want the legs and the pelvis to be really still here. So you're trying to find that stability through the lower body. You will have to twist your ribcage around your shoulder. So the ribcage itself is coming around the shoulder joint. The shoulder blade has got to move on that supporting right shoulder. And the ball just gives you a little guidance here as you do the movement. When you're complete with this, you can come back to both hands. Taking a few breaths to get steady here. And then you're going to take that ball over to the other side. So finding a little strength in your upper back, pushing the earth away here. Soften extra tension from the abdominal muscles. Lift the right hand, bring it over onto the ball. And then we're going to find that ribcage twist in this direction. So ribcage moves around the shoulder. Hips and legs stay really still. So sometimes things happen down here. We really want to keep that lower body steady. We have less feedback for the lower body, so this is in some ways the hardest. It's also a little more effortful, you'll notice, in how you have to support yourself through the middle of your body, including that left shoulder. So you're finding that twisting motion here. And then don't overdo. So when you notice fatigue, you can come back. And then we're just going to rest. You could rest in child's pose if you know it, or you could just sit up if you prefer. And if you started in seated, that might actually be a good option here for you. You're coming back into your starting position. As close as you can to where you began. Take a moment for the breath to settle. There's some effort in that thread the needle variation sometimes. And then check in again with your body. So checking in with any areas where you were noticing sensation, tension, energy, fatigue, whatever you were noticing when you started out. Notice what you notice about your breath, your heart rate. Your mood, quality of your thoughts. Relationship to the context. The context hasn't necessarily changed. But how you feel might have. I hope you enjoyed this little exploration. You can take this knowledge and this felt sense of the upper body twist into all kinds of twisting postures in your yoga practice. Notice if the lower body is fixed and the upper body is moving. This is the kind of thing we're looking for. Rib cage turning above the pelvis. There are twists where the upper body will be still and the lower body will move. So just notice if you can tell which is which. If you have questions or experiences you'd like to share, please do so in the comments. Hope you enjoy this exploration. Take really good care.